You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
Ah, yes. Time to come down the rabbit hole. Welcome to our 100th episode. Well, tonight we'll be talking about the Mexican zone of silence, the Russian time warp, the lithium wars, not the Luminari, the lithium wars, the green imperialism, and moon base slave labor. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, sir. And the way we say it, if there's a shred of truth to these things, that's why we bring to you the stories, because this is Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, and that's exactly what we do, y'all.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like a worm in the storm, a hungry hunger inside of me. I can't be reborn. I'm a monster, spreading hate, stealing time. I'm a monster, laying beds when it's cloudy. Oh, pilgrim inside of me. Tell me, what's my remedy? I'm a fraud, call me liar, a true psychopath, don't love me, I'll live your lies, take your trust.
Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. True psychopaths. Well, anyways, welcome to Sunday night. Welcome to the 100th episode of Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we've taken a little bit of a hiatus, but we wanted to get in step with the new schedule because now we are on every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:30 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone or thereabouts, and that way we're on before our rendezvous with Donald Wayne over at Trice Talk, so we can get the conspiracies out of the way, and abductions, and Bigfoot sightings, and whatever weirdness we want to get into. But tonight, I mean, we're loaded up. But I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're having a good day, good evening, good morning. And if you're not, know that it is about to get better. I feel it. So we'll go ahead and jump into our first story. And this comes from realpolitik.com. Hey, little bit, welcome. And this is titled Zona del Silencio, or the Mexican Zone of Silence. Howdy. So let's find some very conspiratorial music for this. And That will work. So this is from realpolitik.com. And basically this goes on to say that of all sites that are unexplained, well, actually, let me go ahead and get this little bit out of the way. This story is by Riley Winters. We don't want to leave that out. But of all the sites that are unexplained, the Bermuda Triangle is usually the first one that comes to mind, the article says. Located in the Caribbean, it is renowned, or the Caribbean, however you pronounce it. I pronounce it Caribbean. It is renowned for the ships and radio signals that have disappeared without explanation in recent years. Yet, there is another, perhaps lesser known region in which the inexplicable occurs. This location is often referred to quite simply as Mexico's Zone of Silence. Located in the Chihuahuan Desert, not titled such for an unexplained number of dogs, Mexico's Zone of Silence is precisely what it sounds like, a pocket of land in which radio signals die, preventing communication to and from the area, and directionally loses all meaning. According to reports from visitors of the area, which is also known as the Mapimi Silent Zone. Hey, Eric, welcome to the show. Welcome to number 100, sir. If one brings a compass as a backup tool, that person is out of luck. The arrow of the compass will just spin uncontrollably, confusing all sense of direction. Consider the spinning compass from Disney's Pocahontas. Just without the sage old grandmother Willow to decipher the compass's meaning. One of the most prominent investigators of the zone is a man called Benjamin Palacios, known for his somewhat touristy home and the tours of the zone he provides to visitors to the region. However, it seems that the mysteries of the site were not always known. Rumors abound that the Mexican government hid the unexplained occurrences, possibly evidenced by the lack of tourist sites, hotels, etc. nearby the desert. Supposedly, the site was only exposed to the public as unusual when an American missile mistakenly crashed in the Zone of Silence. While retrieving the missile, United States agents were exposed to the unexplained. An article regarding the statement from the U.S. government claims that on July 11, 1970, the United States Air Force launched an Athena V-123D rocket from Green River Launch Complex in Utah. While its intended target was the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, it impacted 180 to 200 miles south of the Mexican border, according to a recently released memorandum sent from the desk of Henry Kissinger, then serving as National Security Advisor to President Nixon. It appears, if this quote is accurate, that a technical error revealed the Zone of Silence as an unexplained, possibly alien site. As is the case with most locations described as unexplained, research is ongoing to determine what other factors might be playing a role in the strange activity of the site. Reports of plant and animal investigations are plentiful, as well as an examination of the geological makeup of the region. And of course, as with all locations in the words unexplained or inexplicable are attached to their names, rumors of alien investigations are equally extensive. It appears that numerous people have reported UFOs in the region, strange lights and burning bushes, not unlike those described anywhere near Roswell, New Mexico, or Area 51. It is also intriguing for theorists to point out the zone of silence falls on the same coordinates as the Bermuda Triangle, itself only recently explained. Yet, aside from the numerous theories of UFO and alien influence, in the zone's 50-kilometer or 31-mile radius, the unexplained occurrences might, in fact, have explanations. Scientists have discovered underground deposits of meteorite debris called magnetite. Essentially, magnetics beneath the surface of the desert are what disrupt radio waves and the metal arrow of compasses. This theory further explains the enigmatic sight when one realizes that meteorites striking the Chihuahuan Desert were not uncommon in the 1900s. Oh, well, look at that. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for the super chat. Three have been reported striking the desert between 1938 and 1969. Those that prefer the theory of aliens likely do not hold much stock in meteorite claims. Perhaps these people prefer to insist on a government cover-up or an extraterrestrial trick. Regardless, it appears that the zone of silence remains among the list of the unexplained, more than likely because it is far more beneficial for tourist revenue than the title, The Zone of the Not So Unexplained Silence. And actually, there is a spot on YouTube about that, and I'll make sure to post that on Twitter as it runs a little bit there. But that's interesting. You know, whether is it a hoax to bring some dollars in for tourism, or has there actually been activity? Who knows? Only the aliens. So, what is next up on our order here? Oh, well, then we might as well go from that and get into the Russian time warp. Oh, yes. Makes me want to dig up the old Doing the Time Warp from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I didn't have that one loaded up. So we'll just go into a different one here. And ah, yes, indeed. So, the Russian time warp, you say, Dennis Lee? What in the Sam Nuggets are you talking about? Well, let me tell you, buddy. Russian time warp, or the mirror universe experiment, mysteriously collides with Bermuda. So they kind of all tie together. We're going down the hole. It's just, one just leads to another. Blah, 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 blah. So this is another one from realpolitik.com. So a mind-bending new Security Council report circulating in the Kremlin today, first noting that the tiny North Atlantic nation of So, yeah, this one, Russian time warp. Can we get the Russian time warp? We'll try it again. So, this one again is from Russian time warp mirror universe experiment. Mysteriously collides with the Bermuda Triangle. Now, that's odd because I'm not seeing any movement on the microphone. Really? Are the Russians hacking me right now? I don't know. But there's always a way to tell. Now we've got it back. So yes, the Russian time warp. And it has a little bit to do with Bermuda anyways. So in this story that I'm about to read, Iceland has had these 10,000 or so quakes since last Wednesday, and they had a volcanic eruption there too. So near Nyansa, because I'm totally going to trash all these names that I'm about to bring up. I do apologize. So a mind-bending new Security Council report circulating in the Kremlin today, first noting that the tiny North Atlantic nation of Iceland has seen over 10,000 quakes since last Wednesday. And the tremors are continuing, says a safeguard, says as a safeguard. The Ministry of Defense has ordered an immediate cessation of all experimental activities taking place at the State Central Navy testing range near Nyanovska, a village under the administrative jurisdiction of the Severodvinsk Arkhangelsk Oblast, and sees this order specifically being directed at experiments being conducted by the St. Petersburg Nuclear Physics Institute under the leadership of Professor Scientist Anatoly P. Serebrov. Now that I've totally butchered all that, let's see here. In piecing together, hey DJ Leisha, welcome. In piecing together the sparse information permitted to be openly commented on by various ministries, contained in this highly classified of special importance transcript. Howdy, hello, hi. Demanding notices its referencing of the American scientific article, Scientists Are Searching for a Mirror Universe. It could be sitting right in front of you, wherein it states, at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in eastern Tennessee, physicist Leah Broussard is trying to open a portal to a parallel universe. She calls it an oscillation that would lead her to mirror matter. A decade ago, Anatoly Serebrov of Petersburg Nuclear Physics Institute in Russia introduced the idea that ordinary neutrons sometimes cross over into the mirror world and transform into mirror neutrons. At that point, we could no longer detect them. It would be as if some of the neutrons simply vanished. Though little is openly discussed about mirror universe physics in Russia, this area of research was slammed to the forefront of attention on the 8th of August, 2019. An infamous date that saw whatever experiments were being conducted at the State Central Navy testing range by Professor Scientist Serebrov and his team from the St. Petersburg Nuclear Physics Institute, resulting in a massive catastrophic explosion that in this West has been called Putin's Skyfall explosion and or the Nyanovska radiation accident. The events surrounding this catastrophic explosion detailed in this transcript are not permitted to be revealed, but very interesting to note. It does contain a lengthy technical section relating to the scientific equipment built for Professor Scientist Serebrov by JSC Research and Production Corporation, Yura Vangon Zavad, which was one of the largest scientific and industrial complexes in Russia, and under the control of Russian defense giant Rostec. And with scientific equipment scientist Serebrov used to perform his high-energy physics experiments that led to his groundbreaking March 5th, 2020 document, the analysis of the results of the neutrino 4 experiment on search for sterile neutrino and comparison with results of other experiments. Blah, 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 blah. Where this report enters the twilight zone is when the transcript reveals that one of the pieces of scientific equipment built by or for Professor Scientist Serebrov was a titanium sphere to replace the one destroyed in the August 8, 2019 explosion. And mysteriously, beyond all belief, this past week saw this believed to have been destroyed titanium sphere being discovered buried in the sand on a beach at Harbor Island in the Bahamas. A discovery made by a British tourist who stumbled upon it and saw this titanium sphere being in pristine condition, having its Russian language specifications clearly visible and readable. Oh, you have, DJ. Cool. Though how it transfers time and space to move itself from Russia in 2019 to the Bahamas beach in 2020 remains unknown. But it bears noticing that it did end up in the most bizarre place on the planet, known as the Bermuda Triangle. And there's pictures of this sphere you'll be able to see when I post this on Twitter. It's very odd looking. Very, very odd looking. And it does have a lot of Russian words on it, that's for sure. There's some things that you just can't be messing with, folks. You just can't be messing with them. Well, why don't we go from, we'll go ahead and crawl out of the Bermuda Triangle. Hey, welcome, old man. Let's crawl out of the Bermuda Triangle and we'll head on over to the Lithium Wars. Yes, especially in 2020, DJ, there sure has. Let's go ahead and get a curveball, can we? Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the road. I mean, and here I was going, 2021 is gonna, and it's still gonna be a good year. There's parts of it that have been so far, but there's already been extremes that have happened so far this year. So that's what's going to take us over to the Lithium Wars. Let's find some Lithium music for that too. We'll just go with that. That's right, DJ. I totally believe it. And I almost apologize for trolls. Podbean is working on it, just not fast enough. So, bam, let's go to Lithium Wars. So, I found another article. Hey, Aubrey, welcome. And it was basically based on a story about the first lithium war. And lithium, if you think about it, lithium is going to be used in all electronic vehicles, or electric vehicles, I should say. And it's used in your cell phones. It's used in a vast array of, battery-operated tools and equipment now, because of lithium last so much longer than the conventional batteries that we had before. And this article alludes to the new war that we'll be having as we're moving away from oil, because there's so many wars that have been fought over oil. Yeah, a rare earth element, exactly. Okay, well, thanks for popping in, Aubrey. We appreciate it. Everything is posted, and you can download it. So basically, this is a story by Theory Mason, Meissen, Meyssen. Hey, PBG, welcome. So the world was used to oil wars since the end of the 19th century. Now the war is over lithium, a mineral that is essential for mobile phones, but above all for electric cars, are beginning. Foreign Office documents obtained by a British historian and journalist show that the UK engineered the overthrow of Bolivian President Evo Morales to steal the country's lithium reserves. Exactly, DJ. Remember the overthrow of Bolivian President Evo Morales in late 2019? At the time, the mainstream press claimed that he had turned his country into a dictatorship and had just been ousted by his people. The Organization of American States, the OAS, issued a report certifying that the elections had been rigged and that democracy was being restored. Hey, Sarmenti, welcome. Right? However, President Morales, who feared he would end up like Chilean President Salvador Allende and had fled to Mexico, denounced a coup d'etat organized to seize the country's lithium reserves. But he failed to identify the principles and was met with nothing but sarcasm in the West. Only we revealed that the operation had been carried out by a community of Croatian Ustaša Catholics present in the country in Santa Cruz since the end of the Second World War, a NATO stay-behind network, the article says. Well, thank you, Alicia. I shall do so. A year later, President Morales' party won new elections by a large majority. There was no challenge, and he was able to return triumphantly to his country. His so-called dictatorship had never existed, while that of Jeanine Ariz had just been overthrown at the ballot box. Historian Mark Curtis, a journalist, and journalist Matt Kennard had access to declassified Foreign Office documents, which they studied. They published their findings on the declassified UK website based in South Africa since its military censorship in the UK. Throughout his work, Mark Curtis has shown that UK policy was hardly changed by decolonization. We have cited his work in dozens of articles on Voltaire Network, the article says. It appears that the overthrow of President Morales was a commission from the Foreign Office and elements of the CIA that eluded the Trump administration. Its aim was to steal the country's lithium, which the UK covets in the context of the energy transition. The Obama administration had already attempted a coup d'etat in 2009, which was repressed by President Morales and led to the expulsion of several U.S. diplomats and officials. In contrast, the Trump administration apparently gave the neoconservatives a free hand in Latin America, but systematically prevented them from carrying out their plans. Lithium is a component of batteries. It is found mainly in the brines of high-altitude salt deserts in the mountains of Chile, Argentina, and especially Bolivia, the Lithium Triangle, so be it. Wow, that's weird, Leisha. There's probably something that'll be coming up about that, too. And even in Tibet, the Solars is where they've also found lithium, but also in solid form in certain minerals extracted from mines, particularly in Australia. It is essential for the transition from petrol cars to electric vehicles. It has therefore become a more important issue than oil in the context of the Paris Agreement supposed to combat global warming. In February 2019, President Evo Morales gave permission to a Chinese company, TBEA Group, to exploit his country's main lithium reserves. The UK therefore devised a plan to steal it, the article says. Evo Morales, an Amerindian, became president of Bolivia in 2006. He represented the producers of coca, a local plant essential to life at high altitude, but also a powerful drug banned worldwide by the U.S. Virtue Leagues. His election and governance marked the return of the Indians' power who had been excluded since Spanish colonization. Before and after the coup, the British embassy in Bolivia neglected the capital, La Paz, and focused on the Santa Cruz region, where the Ustasha Croats had legally taken power. There it multiplied in cultural and commercial events. To neutralize the Bolivian banks, the British Embassy in La Paz organized a seminar on computer security 8 months before the coup. The diplomats introduced Dark Trace, a company set up by the British Internal Security Services, explaining that only banks that use Dark Trace for their security would be able to work with the city. According to Mark Curtis and Matthew Kennard, the U.S. did not participate in the plot as such, but officials left the CIA to prepare it. Dark Trace, for example, recruited Marcus Fowler, a CIA cyber operations specialist, and especially Alan Wade, who the agency's former head of intelligence. Most of the operations personnel were British, including the heads of Watchman UK, Christopher Goodwin Hudson, a former career military officer, then director of security at Goldman Sachs, and Gabriel Carter, a member of the very private Special Forces Club in Knightsbridge, who had distinguished himself in Afghanistan. The historian and the journalist also state that the British Embassy provided the Organization of American States with the data it used to prove that the election had been rigged, a report that was later refuted by researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, before being refuted by the Bolivians themselves during the following elections. The current situation proves Mark Curtis's work as a historian right. For example, in the 3 years since the coup in Bolivia, we have shown London's role in the Yemen War and the Nagorno-Karabakh War in 2020. The UK conducts short wars and covert operations, if possible without the media picking up on its actions. It controls the perception of its presence through a multitude of news agencies and media outlets that it secretly subsidizes. It creates unimaginable living conditions for those on whom it imposes them. It uses them to exploit the country to its advantage. Moreover, it can keep this situation going for as long as possible in the certainty that its victims will still appeal to it, it only being capable of calming the conflict it has created itself. So you know, go ahead and put out the oil fire and start up the lithium burn. Oh yes, it will be getting heated up. Yeah, they're having a lot of those sinkholes open up in Florida. Yeah, there's tons of them. You know, a lot of people write them off to just the the building, the different developments in the area, and then they'll have a area where they bury materials that they didn't use, and then it'll open up sinkholes. I just don't believe that's the case. And yes, the water table and all that good stuff. But, you know, the same thing happens up in Pennsylvania. There's quite a few places that have sinkholes, actually. And I think up in Pennsylvania, they attribute it to the different mining facilities in that area. So we've got the lithium wars. Well, then let's go ahead to the green imperialism. I wish I had some, Evil Empire, Darth Vader music pulled up for that one, but I do not. So this article, Biden Eyes New Era of Green Imperialism. It's by Jonathan Tenenbaum. And it's another one from realpolitik.com. And we'll post it on Twitter, as we do all of our articles. And like we say, if it has a shred of truth, then it's worth talking about. Be it whatever side you're on. It doesn't matter. When it comes to stories like this, it concerns us all. It says, U.S.-led plant saving could become new source of military conflict as oil and gas have so frequently in the past. It ties to what we just went over. It's funny how that whole just goes from one section to the next, but they're all connected. In his January 27th executive order on tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad, U.S. President Joseph Biden declares that his administration aims at putting the climate crisis at the center of the United States foreign policy and national security. Taken literally, this statement, as I think any sober observer of today's situation in the U.S. and internationally will agree, is a piece of insanity, the article says. Joe, please tell us you don't mean it, the writer says. Whatever one might believe about an oncoming climate apocalypse, the urgent domestic and international problems the Biden administration will face in the immediate months ahead have little or nothing to do with the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere. They include the likelihood of crises that might decide between war and peace on a short time horizon. There may be a method in the madness, however. By implication, Biden's executive orders make the release of CO2 in any corner of the world into a U.S. national security issue. The forthcoming national intelligence estimate would provide the basis for using the resources of the U.S. intelligence community and national security apparatus to enforce administration climate policies on a global scale. That has ominous implications. The construction of a new highway, pipeline, factory, or power plant in a developing country, which might lead to increased CO2 emissions, could in principle be classified as a threat to U.S. national security. Depending on the case, the U.S. administration would hereby feel justified or even compelled to stop such projects. Green imperialism thus becomes a duty of the U.S. government. One should consider the magnitude of the interventions and conflicts which may result. To borrow an expression from former President Barack Obama, the U.S. has a variety of tools at its disposal to enforce its climate goals on the world. Biden already speaks of the use of carbon tariffs, fees or quotas on carbon-intensive goods from countries that are failing to meet their climate and environmental obligations. Climate would thus provide the Biden administration with an argument to pursue Donald Trump's protectionist aims with other means. As Biden put it during his campaign, countries that fail to meet their climate responsibilities won't be allowed to erode global progress with cheap, carbon-dirty goods. A hard line against carbon-dirty goods would thus be a way to protect American jobs. But there's much more in the toolbox. Climate goals provide ample justification for strong interventions into the domestic politics of nations, including support for selected parties, social movements, and NGOs. Naturally, everything will be done with 100% political correctness. Moreover, Biden evidently regards it as his prerogative, in the name of saving the planet, to dictate to other nations which projects they may or may not finance and build. The executive order directs the departmental secretaries of state, treasury, and energy, as well as leaders of other government agencies, in consultation with the assistant to the president for national security affairs, to identify steps through which the United States can promote ending international financing of carbon-intensive fossil fuel-based energy. Biden has made it clear that China is the number one target of this climate-leveraged foreign policy. China has over 250 gigawatts of coal-fired power now in development, with 97 gigawatts already under construction. The 250 gigawatt total is roughly equivalent to the entire coal power capacity of the U.S., which Biden has pledged to shut down. During the electoral campaign, Biden declared, "I will lead a diplomatic initiative to get every nation to go beyond their initial commitment to reducing CO2 emissions." This is especially true for China, by far the world's largest emitter of carbon. We will not only hold their leaders accountable for reducing carbon output at home in their country, but make sure that they stop financing billions of dollars of dirty fossil fuel projects all across Asia. Chinese banks are presently the main source of financing for coal power plants worldwide. So Chinese banks are presently the main source of financing for coal power plants worldwide. With Chinese financing and Chinese companies involved in at least 240 coal projects, including in Vietnam, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Kenya, Ghana, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Egypt, Tanzania, and Zambia. The simple fact is that developing countries need energy, and they are expanding their fossil fuel infrastructure accordingly. This can be seen clearly from the construction of oil and gas pipelines. India has over 21,000 kilometers of pipelines in planning or construction. African countries have over 33,000 kilometers, and Latin America over 13,000 kilometers. The pipelines are now in pre-construction or under construction in the Asia-Pacific region, including China, have a total length equal to twice the equator of the Earth. Will the U.S. under Biden attempt to stop these projects in the name of saving the climate? Note that pipeline projects have long played a role in tensions between the U.S. and Russia, and earlier the Soviet Union. Most prominent, of course, is the Nord Stream 2 project linking Russia and Germany, which Trump and now Biden have pledged to stop. But there is more. Russia would be one of the biggest losers from CO2 reductions by its oil and gas customers. Fossil fuels make up 60% of Russia's exporting earnings and about 30% of its GDP. Think about that on a war-like scale. Hey, Lara, welcome. Taking on the role of a climate policy enforcer will bring the Biden administration into conflict with the interest of many countries. Nearly all Middle East nations live on exports of oil. Among the other countries that depend on fossil fuels for more than 50% of their export earnings are Algeria, Angola, Azerbaijan, Brunei, Colombia, Republic of the Congo, Gabon, Nigeria, Sudan, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Thank you. Scores of their developing countries earn significant amounts from fossil fuels exports, and many have fossil fuel reserves that are counted on as part of their national wealth. The International Monetary Fund report, Unburnable Wealth of Nations, explores the issue. More broadly, will the Biden administration effectively attempt to force the world's nations to write off trillions of dollars of still functioning, non-depreciated fossil fuel infrastructure, and at the same time pay for a whole new infrastructure? Not very likely. Needlessly to say, there are also military implications. What about Russian activities in the Arctic region, in which oil and gas play a major role? Yes, they've been working on that and speeding it up quite quickly. What about the immense oil and gas deposits in the areas claimed by China in the South China Sea? What if Russia or China or other nations refuse to terminate activities that threaten the global climate? Will saving the planet become a new source of military conflicts, as oil and gas has so frequently been in the past? That's something to think about. You never know. You never know. There's Mr. Kirk, just in time, sir. Hey, Eric. Welcome.
Hope you had a good weekend, Dennis.
I did. I hope you did as well.
Yeah, my weekend was very good. Yeah, and
Coming into
you know,
the
and I
100th
know
show.
since you're getting about ready to wrap up the show soon, I think now's the time.
Yes, and thank you for coming into the 100th episode.
Oh,
I just actually realized last week that this would be the 100th episode. So, and I had a few
at least I got to be
complications,
here
but-
for it.
Yeah, well, thank you. And actually, the intro, if you go back and listen to it, I took your advice. So I do have that.
The blue pill, red pill.
Yeah,
Yes.
the blue pill, red pill is part of the show now. So thank you, Eric Kirk.
Yeah, but I think the great Podbean podcast shows on the live platform to be on the lookout for, as always. You know, weekday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, you've got the Old Man's Podcast with Dina, Joe, and Eric there. The daily Chit Chat with the Old Man talk show every Monday through Friday. Plus the Old Man's Friday night music show every Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and then his Sunday morning Hindi pop hits hour every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, and the Old Man's classical music hour every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And be on the lookout this week for Jon Devito to do shows, like including Wednesday around 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Time. He'll be interviewing the actress who played Zuzu in the 1946 Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life. If you remember the scene, look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. And, of course, be on the lookout for Robert to do the Mr. Clean show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and Tuesdays and Thursday nights around 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time after the Forgotten Tunes. And that schedule is coming up. And then Cummings' Culture is on every weekday with, around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Time, plus impromptu shows on the weekends. And then, of course, Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea is on every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, maybe with some impromptu shows on the weekends and other times. And the Slightly Serious Show is on every weeknight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, unless he's delayed till 12:30 a.m., assuming Slightly himself, James, has to work overtime at his day job. And then, of course, weeknights at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time with impromptu shows on the weekends is the Forgotten Tunes music show. And then the next few weeks, be on the lookout for Chris to have like a retooled version called The Forgotten or The Forgotten Voices. And also be on the lookout for Lara and Lou to do Communication Station, as well as Pink Squirrel to do Whose Podcast This Anyway, and Lady Meee to do A Day in the Life of Me, and Poetic to do The Holy Shift. Lyrical Laxative Saturday evenings around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and also on the weekends. Be on the lookout for The Turfy Show with John Mann and Mary, and the It's Doomsday Podcast, and Captain Jimmy's Pirate Radio Podcast, and a few other great podcast friends. And, of course, shout out to names like Ralph William of the Ralph William Podcast, Steve and Tanya of Just Another Day in Paradise, and a host of other podcast friends who have been on hiatus and hoping they'll be back on Podbean again soon. And this Thursday, in case anybody missed it, will be Eric Kirk Appreciation Day on Podbean Live. So you can catch me at Chit Chat with the Old Man and the Jon Devito Show, Cummings' Culture, the Slightly Serious Show, as well as Trice Talk. But I know the Thursday edition of Tall Tales, you will be acknowledging it, as well as the Forgotten Tunes and the Mr. Clean Show, and any other impromptu Podbean shows that wish to acknowledge it. And here's Dennis with how you can get a hold of Tall Tales the Rabbit Hole and the new Tall Tales and Trice Talk schedule.
Well, thank you, Eric, and that's awesome. I encourage everybody to track Eric on Thursday. That'll be an awesome time there. But yeah, if you we've got Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole. We've got a new schedule every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll come on right before Trice Talk, where I go on with Donald Wayne. And, we get riled up with some government type issues and just what's going on in the world and our own little spin on it. And then on Wednesdays, we do our Wacky Wednesday show where we get funny and have a good time. I mean, we're funny most of the time anyway, but we let ourselves be a little bit looser on Wednesday. But thank you for coming into our 100th episode of Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, and give another clap for that. Thank you. We post our articles on Twitter, and we post all the shows are recorded, so you can go onto our Podbean site and you can download any of the shows that you might have missed. And yeah, that's right, Eric. We're going for another 100, but we thoroughly enjoy what we do. And you can go onto Twitter and onto Facebook for Trice Talk, and for Trice Talk and for Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, and you can get a hold of us. But on that note, we're gonna bug on out because we got to get over to Trice Talk and get ready with Donald Wayne. But the way we say it here, if there's just a shred of truth, then we'll throw it out there and you do the research for the rest. And remember to do what you do with love at the center of it, and you can't go wrong, I promise you. Lord knows we need more love in this world. But thank you for everybody that came in, and tell all your friends, follow us, like the show, and you'll get updates for new episodes. And we greatly appreciate you. We love you, and we couldn't do it without you. So until next time, peace!
I'm a monster, laying beds when it's cloudy. Oh, pilgrim inside of me. Tell me, what's my remedy? I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. I'll win your loss, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Like an onion, I'll liberate your tears. Sweet passion, sweet fears. Oh, you're in good hands. They say I'm gentle, so don't be scared. I'm a monster. Every train has its thrill. My game, my will. Pilgrim, don't let me, okay? No, I wanna be given the blame. Hold up, wait a minute, what you talking about? Hold up, wait a minute, what you talking about? Wanna be given the blame. I'm a fraud. 'Cause I'm a true psychopath. When you're lost, take your trust. That's me. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. Oh, when you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Yes, I'm a fraud.